welcome. My name is Example. Welcome to the I Am Example podcast. Here we're going to inspire you. We're going to motivate you. We're going to push you. We're going to build you. Any obstacle that you ever encountered, you can overcome by believing in yourself. And here you're going to discover that strength. We're going to teach you how to hustle. We're going to teach you how to grind. We're going to teach you about all those things. Keep it locked in and stay tuned.
Maybach music.
Welcome to the I Am Example podcast, and I'm your host, Example. And on this podcast, we pretty much going to focus on the hustle, the grind, the struggle, the journey, the growth, the progression. Anything that's going to make you progress and grow and better yourself financially, spiritually, emotionally, any way you need to progress and grow. If you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, or anything like that, you can email me at imexample456@gmail.com. If you want to follow me and get those daily inspirations or be inspired or pushed to do better, you can follow me at Instagram at I_am_example456. And on the Instagram page, we also have t-shirts available to where you can make purchases and support the movement. And you can also view me or listen to me on YouTube at I Am Example 456. And we're also available on the podcast app on your iPhones if you want to download the podcast and stuff like that. But as I said, we gonna focus on building you and teaching you about financial literacy, getting your money up, your business up, how you can hustle. You don't have to get no 9 to 5 and stuff like that. Not legal hustle, but hustle on a legitimate status and build your brand. Alright? So let's get right into it. And one of the segments of this podcast will be the example of the week. Every week we'll discuss somebody or talk about somebody that find their niche and built on their own brand. Pretty much starting out from nothing. Self-made millionaires and billionaires, you dig? And the first example of this week will be A.G. Gaskins. A lot of people don't know who A.G. Gaskin is, or what he has done, or what he had, or the impact that he has had in civilization and stuff like that. I read his book years ago, and it's called Black Titan. And what really caught me with A.G. Gaskins is that he literally had no money, broke. He started out selling sandwiches at a coal mining job that he had when he left the military. And then he went from selling sandwiches to lending money. And then he went from lending money to selling insurance. Then he went from selling insurance to having a funeral home. He grinded and built so much. He had over $130 million in the early 60s. That is an unimaginable amount of money in the 60s. You understand? He supported the whole civil rights movement, the sit-ins, the marches and stuff like that. When they would go sit in diners and go get arrested with the civil rights the civil rights participators, when they would go into diners and get arrested, A.G. Gaskin was the one who had the bail money. And not only had bail money, he had jobs set up for them. So if they got fired from their jobs or if they needed money for their family, he could hire them at his businesses. He was a big power player. You dig? He was a shot calling back in them days. And I'm just mad I'm frustrated that he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. So that'll be the first example of the week. All right. So y'all go ahead and make sure y'all read that book, Black Titan. It's a dope book, very good book, and it's the epitome of self-made. And you can literally start out with just selling sandwiches and can come up that much. So we gonna get right into it. You dig? We gonna get right into the podcast. And the title of this particular podcast will be When Your Idols Become Your Rivals. Let that marinate for a minute. When your idols become your rivals. I know you hear that title and you think like, well, is this somebody I admire or somebody that I looked up to and stuff like that? They become my competition or my rival? It can be, but I'm not looking at it from that perspective. I'm looking at it from a perspective on an idea that you held so near and dear to your heart that when you got it, it wasn't what you expected. You understand? For instance, right? This whole podcast stems from somebody who went to school, went to college, got a degree, got in the career field, and everything. But in retrospect, don't have nothing to show for it. And so many people will say, well, you have that, and you have that under your belt, so to say. And I would say, you do all that. You go to school, you follow the rules, you do everything in that order, and you're still struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. You're one paycheck away from losing everything. You accumulate mountains of debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that you probably won't get a job to pay that back. And that's the American dream? Or that's your success story? You understand? And I've done that. And I just had to step back and say, whoa. When I had children, I didn't feel successful because I sat down and I thought about it, and I said, when I leave this earth, well, what would I have to pass down to my kids? That was a question that haunted me for years. It haunted me for years because I didn't have an answer. I didn't want to accumulate 1,000 pair of Jordans. I didn't want to accumulate some 28-inch rims and a car or those materialistic things. I said, I don't want my children starting from where I left off. You understand? In my family, I was one of the first, well, probably one of the first in that generation to go to college. And they held it so near and dear. And I was like, and I held it with a lot of pride. You know what I'm saying? As well as so many of you. But got to college and accumulated mountains of debt. So much debt that it was almost unfathomable. Oh, yeah, I messed up on that word. Don't worry about it. But I couldn't even imagine even paying back the debt. And I was like, because where I was born and raised in an era where you see hustlers, you see everybody building and grinding and accumulating some forms of money. I said, yo, I went to school for this. And they give you 3 months. After you graduate, they give you 3 months to start paying back that debt. And I accumulated hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And I was like, yo, I can't pay this back, or I don't know how to pay this back. So that was a whole different monster within itself. And then I had children, but I got in my career field, but then I had children. And I said, this is the bottom line. I'm gonna work here for 30 years, break my back, have a mountain of debt over my head, so much debt that when I die, the debt rolls over to my children. I said, that's not progression. That's not growth. So immediately I knew I had to do something. So that's where I made the decision that I had to start businesses. I said, there's no way that I'm going to tell my children that they have to go to any college institution and accumulate mountains of debt, that they probably get a job that can't pay this debt back, instead of handing them a business and saying, you can be the CEO, you can be the boss immediately. And it made me, when I came to that realization, and when I came to that conclusion, I held that with pride, and it made me look at the original idea and the original mindset that you do this traditional method and cycle. It made me look at that like it was complete BS. Because at the end of the day, you get a job, you work 30 years, they're going to replace you. Even if they replace you with your kids, your child has to start from the beginning. You understand? But if you start a business, or if you have a business, your child will start out as the CEO when you get old. If you own properties, your child will have some form of wealth to stand on. And I know people will say, well, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. You didn't know how to walk. At one point when you was born, you didn't know how to walk, but you got up and tried. And before long, you went from walking to running. You understand? Everything is always hard at the first step. It's about how consistent you are and how persistent you are. It's about your ambition. It's about how much you want to grow and what you want to see your children with. That's what I wanted. I think everybody deserves that chance and opportunity. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to go with that traditional cycle. You don't have to go with that, oh, you got to go to college and you have to pledge this sorority or that fraternity and you have to network. You don't need none of that. I know somebody right now cutting lawn making $5,000 a month off a contract that he acquired. $5,000 a month. Some entry-level jobs don't make that in 3 months. You understand? So this is how come this is the initial podcast, because I have to present it to where the traditional approach to getting money and being successful, you're going to have to look at it from a different perspective. You understand? And when you look at it from a different perspective, you're going to start to hate it because it's going to be reality gut punching you. Just do the math. Do the math. You work at a job 30 years. Your retirement after 30 years, you probably get about $1,300 a month, depending on where you live at. So that's not near enough to retire or live off of. So you're gonna have to go back to work. And by this time, you're probably in your 50s if you started working at 20. So you'll probably be in your 50s. What you gonna do? Go work at Walmart? There's nothing wrong with working at Walmart. It's nothing wrong with working at a job for 30 years. As long as you also building yourself up and have supplemental income coming in from somewhere. I know so many people that retired and had to go back to work. In 50s, you got arthritis in your hands. What can you really do in your 50s? Because all your golden years was pretty much wasted at the job. And you're not going back for the love of the job. You're going back for survival. You understand? So that's how come this podcast is called Your Idols Become Your Rivals, because what people usually idolize, and just out of tradition and just out of a cycle, a repeating cycle, going over and over and over and running in place, not growing and not progressing, you're going to learn to hate it. And you're going to learn to dislike it, and you're going to learn that it's just not for you. Because after you do all that, after it's all said and done, you gonna look back and say, this is it?
Maybach music.
There's people out there right now with 2 master's degrees making $40,000, $30,000 a year. Now, mind you, 2 master's degrees, I know that you done pulled out about $300,000, $400,000 in debt. Then what? And you know how long it's gonna take. How you gonna live off of $40,000 and you already in debt for $100,000? The numbers don't add up. You understand? And before it's too late, I'm gonna get you there. I'm gonna teach you. I'm gonna push you, and we gonna get you to where you need to be. You understand? So y'all keep tuning in. I'm gonna keep dropping these podcasts. I'm gonna get out of you. I ain't gonna hold y'all up too much longer. And like I said, y'all can reach me or y'all can email me at iamexample456@gmail.com. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram at I_am_example456. Make sure y'all cop them t-shirts. Them I am example t-shirts, you dig? Hit me up on Instagram and we'll get those out to you. And make sure you follow us on YouTube at I am example456. And y'all remember what I said. Always never be scared to look at things from a different perspective. You understand? Everything that's presented to you, you don't have to accept. You don't have to abide by. You don't have to move just because it's presented to you as a tradition or in the perspective of a tradition. You dig? So just try to have your own mindset and your own approach to things, and you'll be fine. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all be safe.
Maybach music.